Hi, I'm Charlie from Agriland and we're at Delvin Mart today to speak to farmers about how the potential rewetting will affect their area.
Of course we are concerned. Every farmer in the country is very concerned about it. It's another regulation being pushed upon us by the EU without proper research and science behind it. Because farmers at the minute are very much involved in a lot of environmental schemes and we don't need another environmental scheme. The biggest concern is that every acre or hectare of land you take out of agricultural use is taken out of food production. We have a population in the world growing and expanding and we need to feed the world. So we've been taking land out for wettings, buildings, roads, the solar panels. There's a huge reduction in the amount of land that's going to be available for food production, and we are food producers, and that's our main core in life, is to produce proper, high quality food for our consumers. I'm involved in IFA. It's not a question of whether it's just individually my land. It's about the whole community of agriculture, the whole area of Delvin. We're adjacent to Bournemona, and Bournemona has started rewetting that land. What impact is that going to have on the neighbouring farmers around? And if that impacts on neighbouring farmers, we don't know where it's going to stop. And the point is, not enough thought went into it. It's a flawed proposal, and it should be rejected. Every scheme that has come in, whether it was reps, whether it's now that's acreage, we look after the environment. And I think we don't need another scheme. They need to do more research on the benefits that they're getting from the schemes that's there at the minute. And the Minister said last week that there's enough land in state hands between Bournemona and Keelshire to wet for rewetting, that they don't need to impact on land that's there available for producing food. We have the best record of the environment within Europe, and they seem to look at, because we have bog and we have a lot of wetlands, that we are a soft target, and our Minister has to stand up and be counted, and for us not to be a sacrifice for the rest of Europe.
I'm very concerned about the potential rewetting, for the simple reason there has been no negotiations with any farm organisations or anything. After all, they're trying to bring in rewetting and they never negotiate with any farm organisation, and this needs to be done. And also, the biggest problem with the rewetting too is that they're talking about taking out the cap payments. We want to see a separate payment for the rewetting. If they're serious about rewetting, they want to bring in a serious compensation package for farmers, and they also want to have it index linked, and they want to have it over 30 years, and they also want to have a tax-free, the same as the forestry. I'd be very concerned that animals will bring diseases with it. Like, after all, we have seen the COVID with the human beings, what it has done. It'll be the same with the rewetting. It'll be the cause of spread of TB and several different diseases if this happens. My area will be very heavily affected, because the simple reason is that we're beside Bournemona, and Bournemona is rewetting all the bogs along us. But Bournemona has never come to any of us and talked to us to say how they're going to impact on our farms, which they are going to do, because they're going to close all the trails, and they're seriously going to impact on all the local farmers round about.
Like every other farmer in this area, we're very concerned. We're not fully aware of the potential that can become of this rewetting. I feel it could be a Pandora box opening for other environmental schemes in the future. And if the legislation is passed for rewetting, it will leave the door open for an awful lot of other environmental schemes, which are not strictly based on scientific fact, but more on the ideology of politicians and environmentalists in Ireland and in Europe. A classic previous example of an ideology-based scheme was the Burren in County Clare, and already they've had to reintroduce cattle back to the Burren, where they realised when they removed all the cattle from the Burren that the natural flora and fauna were being taken out and scrubland was developing. Any agricultural area in the country has the full potential to be affected by rewetting. With every action, there's an opposite reaction. And of course, animals that are going to be forced out of a certain area where badger sets are going to be flooded, it's going to drive badgers to other non-flooded areas.
We're the only mart left in County Westmeath, and Westmeath is covered by vast expanses of both Quilter forestry and Bord na Mona bogs. That being said, we see farmers coming in from all over the Midlands, and a lot of these farmers will be affected by the rewetting as their land does inevitably join on to bogs. You know, there is a great expanse of Bord na Mona bog through the Midlands. We would be worried about that, but I suppose we don't really have a whole lot of choice at the minute.